There is a saying, too late to explore the world, too early to explore the universe. I find this untrue because there's another whole field to explore, the deep ocean, and right now is the perfect time to explore it. For centuries, the deep ocean was but a place of myth and mystery, a dark frontier more distant than the moon. But over time, humanity dared to descend, and now the mysteries of the ocean are slowly being revealed. Today, we will explore the history of humanity's exploration of the deep sea and the vehicles that make it possible. In the times of ancient Greece, the deep ocean was associated with powerful gods like Poseidon. And I mean, they had no way of actually exploring the deep sea, even to a shallow depth, so they had no way of knowing if their myths were right or wrong. Several maps showed the ocean as a vast expanse with sea monsters, such as Scylla, a monster with multiple heads and the body of a dog that resided near whirlpools. I'm sure you all know this one. The Kraken came from Greek mythology, where it was said that a giant squid attacked boats and ships. And eventually, it was proven they were right, because giant squids and even colossal squids do indeed exist. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we do find an even bigger one. And of course, there was the legendary lost continent of Atlantis, which was apparently a utopian society and nation that fell out of favor with the gods after attacking Atlantis and was submerged under the waves. Atlantis has now been immortalized in movies, space shuttles, and resorts. In the ancient days, Aristotle made several important observations about marine life, like that whales and dolphins were not fish and that they were actually mammals, as well as that some animals had blood and some didn't. In the 1600s and 1700s, efforts were made to measure the depth around the coastlines of land using sounding, which basically measured how long it takes sound to go up and down, as well as trial and error. This was charted on maps, and over time, our knowledge of the shallow parts of the ocean expanded, though the process of finding depth by how long it took for sound to return got more advanced. Over the years, this was all we had, but then came the HMS Challenger expedition. The HMS Challenger sailed around the world, starting in 1872 and ending in 1876. It conducted soundings in deep water, carried trawls to study the fish that were caught in its nets, and one of the notable highlights of the expedition occurred when Challenger pierced through the formidable waters of the South Pacific, reaching the Mariana Trench, and it recorded a sounding of 4,475 fathoms, or 10,994 meters, which is known today to be the deepest part of the world's oceans. The expedition cleverly utilized a method called deep sea sounding to measure ocean depths, an invention that expanded our understanding of underwater landscapes. Another significant achievement of the Challenger expedition was the collection of a wealth of specimens. The crew gathered over 4,700 marine life and documented them, many of them unknown to science. Among these discoveries was the abyssal fish and the infamous giant squid, proving that the Kraken myth wasn't entirely fiction. It challenged our beliefs of life in this deep sea, and furthermore, the expedition also contributed to valuable data through the introduction of the bathymetric chart, which recorded the seafloor features based on depth and topography. This data laid down the foundation for modern oceanography and was pivotal in future expeditions. The deepest point of the ocean was later renamed the Challenger Deep. Next, it was time to send humans down to those depths. By the 1900s, submarines were already a thing and had been used to explore the shallower parts of the world. That, and diving bells and suits, helped advance our knowledge of the ocean. But, although submarines had come a long way, humans did a human thing and decided to advance submarine technology to kill other humans. These submarines contained no windows and were fitted for war. They also could not go that deep, so for now, the deeper parts of the ocean were off limits to most. In 1928, American naturalist William Beebe received permission from the British government to conduct studies of local wildlife in Bermuda. He wanted to lead an expedition 2 miles down into the sea to study the deep-sea wildlife, but he soon found out that pressure would make that extremely difficult. So, under pure pressure, literally, he worked with another engineer named Otis Barton to come up with a solution. Beebe originally sought a cylindrical design, but Barton said that would not work. He shared a design for a spherical vessel that would have an equal amount of pressure exerted on it from all sides. After the initial version of the sphere had been cast in 1929, it was discovered it was too heavy to be lifted with the winch that would be used to lower it into the ocean, requiring Barton to have the sphere of metal recast. The new one weighed 2.2 tons and was around 1 inch thick, with a large hatch on the back and 3 reinforced windows. Beebe and Barton conducted their first dive of the sphere in May 27, 1930, descending to a relatively shallow depth of 45 feet in order to ensure that everything worked properly. For a second test, they sent the bathysphere down to an unmanned, far greater depth, and found after pulling it up, the rubber hose connecting the electrical cable and phone cable had become twisted 45 times around the cable that suspended the bathysphere. Eventually, they fixed all the issues and were ready. As they descended on their first really deep dive, they observed that the deeper you go, some light disappears before others, so the only colors you can see in the deep ocean are violet and blue. They also mapped Bermuda's underwater geography. They tried to continue operations the next summer, but were foiled due to weather. They also experimented with modifications, but those all ended in the sub being filled with water. Beebe said that if he were in the sub during those tests, the water would have shot through due to the pressure so much their flesh would have torn like steel. I could go deeper into this, but the important part is that they advanced our knowledge of the ocean and observed many species of fish that we still haven't seen till this day. I find it crazy that the ocean is so big, there are fish in the ocean we've only seen once and never again. Around this time, the concept of the Hadal Zone in the deepest part of the ocean was raised. This is the part only at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. By this point, no one had ever reached the Hadal Zone, but that was about to change. During World War II, sonar was developed more, which also relied on the speed of sound traveling through water. This aided in the exploration of the ocean. During the 40s, a new type of vehicle was developed, the bathyscape. It looked like a normal sub, but with a ball hanging underneath. The ball was the pressure hull because, as mentioned, a sphere is pure pressured from all sides and can propel itself, but can't depart from the port on its own. The hull was built in the Free Territory of Trieste and finished in 1953. It was operated by the French Navy for a few years. In 1958, it was acquired by the United States Navy and renamed for its place of build, the Trieste. The sub conducted a series of shallow water tests and dives until 1960, when the culmination of hundreds of years of research concluded. On October 5, 1959, she departed San Diego on the freighter Santa Maria, and on January 23, 1960, explorers Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh descended into the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. 4 hours and 7 minutes later, they arrived. They were the first 2 people to ever reach the Hadal Zone. After about 20 minutes, one of the glass portholes broke, sending a shock throughout the submarine. After observing the flatfish that lay on the seafloor, and that the seafloor was an ooze-like substance instead of sand, they immediately surfaced after the crack, fearing for their life. So of course, since 2 people almost died going down to the ocean, humanity was gonna do it again. With that, a new era in deep-sea exploration began, starting with the Elven. A problem was identified with the traditional bathyscapes, maneuverability. It was found that merging the pressure hull into the submarine and going for a more conventional shape in the non-pressurized part was a lot better. With the invention of the very buoyant syntactic foam, work was underway on 3 new deep-sea subs, and the people that made this sub were the cereal company General Mills. Even better was when you bit into the subs, they tasted like cinnamon. 3 Elven classes were made: Seacliff, Turtle, and Elven. Seacliff and Turtle went to the United States Navy, but they aren't in service anymore, so we won't be talking about them. Sea trials took place with the Elvin in the Bahamas, and the sub began scientific research for the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Elvin got to work and was even attacked by a swordfish. On dive 202, Elvin was attacked by a swordfish as it rose to the surface, while it was trying to eat the cinnamon toast crunch the sub was carrying. The fish then got stuck in the submarine and was served justice by being cooked for dinner. On October 26, 1968, the Navy support ship Lulu was lowering Elvin off the starboard side when the wires broke free and it sank. All personnel got out in time, but Elvin was lost to the depths. Severe weather prevented the recovery of Elvin throughout late 1968, but it was located by the ship USS Mizar. After several attempts, it was recovered using the Illuminaut, the first aluminum submarine. Elvin was refurbished extensively, and many parts were replaced. It was returned to service in 1973. Marine geologists using the Elvin in the Pacific Ocean made a big discovery when they discovered deep-sea hydrothermal vents and associated biological communities during 2 expeditions to ocean spreading centers in 1977. Scientists in Elvin discovered low-temperature vents in the Galapagos Spreading Center east of those islands, challenging the perception of what life was down there. In 1986, the Elvin descended with Robert Ballard to the Titanic, diving several times and conducting meaningful research on the site. Elvin, accompanied by a small remotely operated vehicle named Jason Jr., was able to conduct photographic surveys and inspections of Titanic's wreckage. Many of the photographs of the expedition have been published in the magazine of the National Geographic Society, which was a major sponsor of that expedition. By this time, it had become increasingly popular to use unmanned ROVs to explore places, streaming live video to the surface. This is still used quite prominently today. This technology allows for people to stay safe and is currently the primary mode of exploring the deep. Over the years, Elvin has undergone many overhauls to improve its equipment and extend its lifetime. In 2001, among other equipment, motor controls and computer systems were added. The current Elvin is not the same as the original vessel, only in name and general design. All components of the vessel, including the frame, personal sphere, and others, have been replaced at least once, making a sort of Ship of Theseus paradox. Over the years, Elvin has completed 5,200 dives and has done research that has contributed to medical, engineering, and biological research. Over 60 years, she still operates till this day. Using the template of Elvin, many other submarines have entered to the surface to explore the deep, but the Mariana Trench always seemed out of reach, a limit no one could pass. Then, Mr. Titanic came along. James Cameron had already been to the Titanic and Bismarck multiple times, so his next logical step was the Challenger Deep. James Cameron and a team paid for by Rolex developed a one-use deep-sea submarine to take Cameron down to the Challenger Deep. It was long and vertical, featuring previously mentioned foam and precision thrusters, as well as a sphere with 2-inch thick walls. It could only be used a limited number of times as it would shrink with every dive. On March 26, 2012, Cameron reached the bottom of the Challenger Deep, becoming the third person to do so. After 3 hours at the bottom, he finally came up. Due to the shrinking and damage sustained during a fire, it never dived again. However, tragedy would eventually strike the deep diving community. A company called OceanGate had been retrofitting one of its subs to operate at a deeper depth. It used a carbon fiber hull, which was untested and prone to warping after several dives. The hull was made by the same people who made the hull for the submarine Deep Flight Challenger, but, in a bad sign, the Deep Flight Challenger never made its intended mission of reaching the Mariana Trench due to safety issues. Rob McCallum had consulted for OceanGate in 2009, but left due to his concerns that the vessel's development had been rushed. In 2018, he emailed Rush, warning him the development cycle and refusal to have the ship classified was, quote, potentially placing yourself and your clients in a serious dynamic. adding that in Russia's race to the Titanic, you are mirroring the famous catchphrase, "She is unsinkable." Russia's response called the email a serious personal insult and complained about the baselessness cries of, "You're going to kill someone." OceanGate said that a vast majority of its sub-incidents were operator error, not sub-error, meaning that they could do whatever they wanted. Despite issues with shallow water diving in Washington, it was put into service exploring the Titanic and taking people down, controlled by an Xbox controller, because why not? The sub took people to see the Titanic from 2019 to 2023. In 2023, during its first dive of that year, Titan reported that it was descending faster than normal and dropping weights. 10 minutes later, it reported it dropped the frame but was still descending. And, seconds later, they lost contact with the support ship. It failed to resurface at the selected time, and days later, it was confirmed that the sub had imploded with 5 casualties. It was found that the carbon fiber hull had warped over the course of 5 years. But not all was tragedy. At around the same time, the Deep Submergence Vehicle Limiting Factor was built. Developed by deep-sea explorer Victor Vescovo, it represents a significant leap in manned submersible technology for deep ocean exploration. Capable of withstanding crushing pressures found at the bottom of the ocean, it is the only submarine in history certified for unlimited depth. Its construction involves a unique titanium sphere, which provides a good strength-to-weight ratio, allowing the sub to dive to depths that were previously unfeasible for human exploration. And it can dive multiple times, surface, recharge, and do it again. It made headlines during its groundbreaking expedition, dubbed the Five Deeps Expedition, which sought to reach the deepest points of every ocean. During the journey, it successfully descended the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench in April 2019 at a depth of 10,928 meters, a little bit deeper than the Trieste. This accomplishment not only showcased the sub's advanced engineering, but also opened new doors for scientific exploration, as it gathered valuable data and samples from the depths of the ocean, thereby enhancing our understanding of marine biodiversity and geology. It's capable of going up and down and back again. Today, 27 people have been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. 23 of those were in the last 10 years, mostly by limiting factor and the Chinese submersible Striver. Looking towards the future, deep ocean exploration is poised to expand dramatically due to advancements in technology and the increasing recognition of the ocean's critical role in the global ecosystem. As projects like the Limiting Factor pave the way for more manned dives, we can expect to see an influx of private and governmental initiatives aimed at uncovering the mysteries of the deep sea. Innovations such as enhanced remote sensing and advanced robotics will further facilitate exploration, allowing researchers to study underwater environments with unprecedented detail and accuracy. Additionally, the growing interest in submersible technology and preservation of marine habitats is likely to drive competitive efforts among nations to organize, map, monitor, and protect the ocean ecosystems. The ocean is a scary place, but it's also one with immense beauty, and hopefully we will explore more of Earth's final frontier. So, what are the Chinese doing in the Mariana Trench? What will subs look like in the future? And who at General Mills thought it was a good idea to go from cereal to submarines? That's a very good question.